was one of my sickest Magic matches in a while. Like right the previous round. Okay, this seems like a keep. Yeah, my mana is a little bit awkward with the deck though, as you can see. And my early game is also not that great, so I think I'm vulnerable to getting overrun. But if we're playing like late game oriented matches, then I'm very confident in my late game always being better than that of my opponent. Though my opponent's Belsenok in the previous round also could have turned into a problem. Yeah, kicker 9 and 10, those were the games that I won. Oh no, they had Teferi in game 1. Game 1 was the sick one that took like 40 minutes and both of us were like through 30 cards of our library. Cast down on a 2/2 lifelink seems like an aggressive usage of removal though. I don't think I agree with that. Though removal spell into divination is a good follow-up for this type of control or mid-range mirror. But I don't think I would want to spend my premium removal on a 2/2 lifelink most of the time. You really need to have a weak hand for that to ever recorrect. Because even if you take like 4 or 6 damage by this, it's likely still better to have this in your hand for a bigger creature. Though I guess many of the strong creatures are legendary. At least in black-white. There's a huge focus on legendaries. If you're playing against like a green deck, this can still kill a bunch of 4/4s and 5/5s with kicker. So that holding on to it is a lot more valuable. Still feels scary to make this attack into 5 mana when you're not used to the format yet. Like in the previous format, you would always get Windstridered in these spots where your opponent suspiciously passes with 5 mana open and then you take your 2 power guy into their board. And well, you quickly learn that lesson, but 5/5 Death Touch, interesting. Also haven't seen that card yet. Well, this is how you lose with this deck. Just have a bunch of uncastables in your hand because it's a greedy 3-color mana base, and yeah, and very little fixing. My mana base is pretty clearly the worst part of my deck. Drawing Mountain here would be pretty amazing because they're 5/5 right away. Drawing Swamp is still alright. Oh, well, maybe I have to do a double block, but there's a low chance of double block working. My position is just not great here though. Yeah, drawing Mountain is great, but I only have 2 mountains and 1 way of searching them up in my deck, so that's like 3 cards out of the 26 in my deck that can provide me. Probably has Syncopate, that would make some sense. Very possible that they have Syncopate. 2 Divination, so yeah. They do seem to have a very nice blue-black controlling or mid-range deck here. Okay, I think I have to take it. Mountain. Yes! Mountain is amazing. And now that they got the bounce, actually the bounce might have helped me, because in hindsight I didn't want to do the double block. I just wanted to do it because I was desperate to get this off of the board. Yeah, 11% is not a lot, but getting there is always good. Vicious Offering my Knight is pretty good for my opponent. That's a lot of Academy Journey mages. But I have a ton of great top decks, yeah. This one helps, though if my opponent has another removal spell and or counter here, it's pretty bad for me. This plays around the Syncopate at least. And if my opponent makes an ambitious attack, I can Shivan Fire. There's no like -4/-4, right? Only the Vicious Offering. So I don't think I ever get to blow them out by putting a counter on this at instant speed with Shivan Fire. But we'll see. That is disgusting. I think I do need to kill that creature now, otherwise I just get killed way too quickly, but that is very bad for me. Yeah, well, this is how I lose. Facing a control mirror against a much more streamlined deck. If they mill me, that would actually be very helpful. Yeah, that's just not correct against this color combination, because there's so many reanimation spells in black that it pretty much always helps me to do that. So now time for Lyra or something. Trade off 1, go to 1. Because they're getting, I guess they're getting Bounce Spell back next turn. Yeah, I think I'm just very likely dead. Because next turn they get to reanimate Academy Journey Mage on their upkeep. Oh, yeah, that's how I lose. This card's also pretty unbeatable for me. If they resolve that on any of my unbeatable cards, then suddenly I'm facing down a Lyra or something. This does not seem like a good matchup for me. And I don't even have much counterplay for that. I guess Invoke has to come in for sure to deal with their mind control. And other than that, I think I'm just locked in on my main deck. I do want the second Dark Bargain, I guess, to keep up with their divinations. Sure. I think I want to be on the draw as well. Well, they do have multiple, like, bounce a creature, but I think I do need to still be on the draw. Yeah, I'm also not that great at calculating odds. Like, if I really try, I can, but I usually don't do it all that often. I have like a feeling for like how likely things are, but I don't have a very mathematical approach to my game, which is a weakness, I would say. Like only when there's like the exact situation where you have to calculate like one line of play has these outs and the other line of play has those outs, then I sometimes do it, but like not at a regular basis. Mostly just while like mulliganing versus keeping hands, then it is very easy to do, and well, not easy, but it is very clear what you're looking for, like looking for lands, looking for 2-drops, something like that. I mean, you can estimate those things or like calculate them in your head, but I'm not great at that either. Definitely room for improvement there. Yeah, first strikers are insane. Your 2-drop is much better than my 3-drop. I mean, I have those in my deck as well, I'm not complaining, just saying like these knights are absolutely bonkers. Because they decided to just give every creature 2 toughness from like turn 2 to turn 4 onwards. Not sure why my opponent's really willing to trade damage. But alright, I guess they do have like the bounce spells in their deck and they feel like they're more of a tempo deck. I'm not certain that's correct, because their control plan also seemed very reasonable. Not in a great spot if my Lyra gets dealt with though. Rona, yeah, their deck just seems great. It's not nothing spectacular, not like my deck where like the best cards are insane bombs and the weaker cards are okay, but like just like a solid deck where every card in the deck is at least a 6 in terms of power level and the best cards are like 8s. And that is usually a lot more consistently good than it is to have a deck that is made of like 10s and 4s or something. Because then if you draw like too many 4s or if your 10s get dealt with, you can end up in trouble. Like here, if they just like steal my Lyra, I sure I can get it back, but I end up pretty far behind. If they bounce my Lyra, I'm pretty screwed, because I just take 6 here. I'm not sure if that's Richard Garfield's fault, if it is even anyone's fault, because it is kind of fun to play with, but it's also kind of frustrating. I think it's a lot more fun when everyone has bombs in comparison to like one person has Tetsimok and the other has nothing. So I think the previous format was a lot more frustrating, but there are some pretty bonkers game-winning cards in this format. So I think I just have to run this out and hope it sticks for a turn. Now if they have like second Academy Journey Mage or something, I can't win. Putting myself on the draw definitely backfired a little bit. But that was mostly just because they had Knight of Malice, and it's impossible to deal with Knight of Malice on curve unless you have like -2/-2 for it right away, and I have none of those in my deck. It's almost impossible to deal with it in creature combat. I guess I go to 2 here. And then I have to replay this and my opponent has to not have another answer. Oh god. Man, I really wanted to get a trophy. Maybe I should have chosen to play, but other than that, I don't think there's much I can do. My opponent's deck is just very well set up to deal with this matchup. Just tempo me out. And the combination of like bounce spells and mind control really keeps my bombs under control. Yeah. Waiting. Should be a pretty easy attack with everything. I guess maybe not. Maybe they want to hold this back so that I can not trade this into this. Oh wow. Well, sure. That's pretty aggressive. I mean, that forces me to block. That either means they have the second Lyra covered or they're like doing something a little bit ambitious. I don't have an alternative to the second Lyra anyway, so this costs 3, so keeping it open for the Inbolas Clutches is not possible. And I'm dead on board regardless if this gets dealt with, both bounced or stolen or destroyed. So I have to hope my opponent just made a misplay there with the cast down. Can't be blocked if you've cast a historic spell this turn, okay. Don't care. Because, I mean, I care a little bit because it threatens lethal, but I can get some life back with this. Then I'm not that well set up on defense anymore. But I do need to do that, I think. Could alternatively deal with one of their creatures with Fiery Intervention. But I think running out the Sarah is a little bit better. And then I hope my opponent now casts Inbolas Clutches on like my Sarah Angel, and I get to steal it back with the Invoke and just win from there by having a surprise 5/5 lifelink blocker. Or they just cast like an equipment or something. That would also be nice for me. If they trigger this with the equipment, try to attach it, I gain some life. GG. Their cast down seemed very aggressive, because like me trading, they could have even held this back, and then I have the 3/2 still on the board, and they have their 3/2 still on the board, but I don't get my Saproling token yet. So they hit me for 5 down to 2, and then I have this lying around, but doesn't really solve my problem. I think cast downing this was just a huge punt by my opponent, allowing me to keep this Lyra after I replay it. It's not like it's surprising that I had a Lyra. I don't think there's a combat trick I need to worry about attacking into, right? No, I don't think so. And if they had a removal spell, they would have already used that and killed me last turn, like a -5/-5 or something on my Sarah Angel. Yeah, they go to 2, I go to 12, to 17. Pretty fair swing there. Am I worried about the Inbolas Clutches now? Not really, right? Now that I'm at a healthy life total. So I can run this out and threaten to... Oh, it does only creatures, so I don't threaten to kill them with it, but I have 3 flying attackers now and I can shoot down the Windgrace Acolyte. So it still seems better to just run out another flyer. That was a pretty tight one, though I think my opponent helped me quite a bit with their misplay. Now it's too late for them to steal any of my creatures, because I survived that turn, then just get it back. 2 Blink of an Eye, so they are heavy on bounce, though 2 of these Academy Journey Mages, 2 Blink of an Eye. pretty sick deck. Can I board into like just black-white or something? This what I had. What do I get? Some mediocre 2 drops, some mediocre 3 drops, but a lot more consistency in the mana. Because I don't want to be wrecked by these bounce spells all that hard. But like, the problem is these 2 drops and 3 drops still get outclassed by Knight of Malice from my opponent's side, so they only really help me at dealing with my opponent's Journey Mages. Something like this, maybe even cut this for the extra planes. Does not seem too unreasonable. Because I think if I survive against my opponent and make sure I don't get wrecked by Embola's clutches, I'm pretty favored in the matchup. Just their tempo plan is pretty scary. I guess bounce spells are pretty good against Call the Cavalry as well. Maybe I don't want those. But they do offer me some card advantage that I don't have otherwise. And having like more 6 drops without a comes into play effect in my deck is also sketchy against the bounce. So what would be my last 2 cards? Probably still running one of these, and maybe this still. Or maybe I do run a Divest, because it can pick off the Journey Mages and their flyers. Though my opponent's heavy focus on instants and sorcery makes it more likely that I miss from time to time. I think I actually like this, more consistency of the mana, though I do lose out on some power level and some. Well, I guess I'm not that well set up against the 5/5 Death Touch then. But yeah, I think I want to have my deck running as reliably as possible against my opponent's tempo deck that has the weaker late game unless they tempo me out. Yeah, this looks very reasonable. Still a hand that can like never deal with a Knight of Malice. Nerf Knight of Malice. But just overall a very strong hand. Okay, that one I can deal with. I mean, maybe not exactly in combat, but if we are trading blows back and forth with Mesa Unicorn against Relic Runner, then it's pretty decent for me, and trading off is also okay with me. Divination, sure. They're unwilling to trade, or at least they're unwilling to trade hits. That makes sense, of course. They're probably willing to trade on defense. Yeah. I think that's alright with me. Because I don't really have a way of upgrading my Mesa Unicorn into doing anything better than trading for that. Like, I don't have a way of punishing like 1 toughness creatures, don't have a way of pumping my Mesa Unicorn, so this trade is always going to happen in the future. And then, yeah, double divination, sure. That is pretty good for my opponent. I'm a little envious of the double divination. But there was, oh no, they didn't miss a damn drop yet, but they're kind of missing board position. And now I'm in a spot where like Academy Journey Mages don't do anything for my opponent. At least for the time being. Oh, that's pretty good. They should once again not be milling me, that's a huge mistake. Didn't backfire really, but it's still a mistake. Lyra just gets candled. Pretty unhappy about that. I think I'll run out the Knight. Maybe I can bait out the candle. Seems unlikely though that I get it with anything worse than Lyra. Maybe the Serra Angel or something can bait out the candle. Or maybe Knight of Melis does turn out to be strong enough to do it. Probably even running out Karazov as a bait. Well, now I'm in trouble if my opponent steals either of my flyers though, because I just spent my removal spell on killing my opponent's Death Toucher, which I think was necessary, but still. Yeah, like in Boda's clutches is difficult to deal with my hand. Yeah, I cannot attack into this Homered now, because then they just Candle down my, or like, yeah, Candle down my Mesa Unicorn. Maybe that's even alright with me. Huh. Is it alright for me to 2-for-1 myself to get the Candle off of the board, because then I have unbeatable flyers? Nah, it's probably just unnecessary. I can run this out and that gives me a reasonable chance of my opponent just candling the Knight of Melis. It would be a little bit fancy to like make the purposefully terrible attack. Sure. To get my opponent to like candle on a weaker target. But I think the Knight of Melis is still strong enough that it will have to be dealt with eventually. The point was, if they use it here, I lose my only white permanent, then it's a 2-power first striker and runs into their 3/3. If I play this pre-combat, I have 2 white permanents, so it stays a 3-power attacker regardless of what they do with their candle. And then they would have to deal with the knight directly. With the candle. And if I let them use it here without playing this, I lose both of my creatures, but I get the candle off of the board, which makes these better. That's a good one. Any of these dark bargains are greatly appreciated here. Okay, I think I want Cavalry and Quende. Should obviously be attacking before I tap out, but I wanted to give myself info with the draw spell before I make my attack. Just incorrect to replay the knight though, because it gives my opponent the info that I'm not having any combat tricks. I wanted to get their creatures off of the board though, so that the chance of my Knight of Melis attacking was a little bit higher. If I'm not running into any double blocks or something. No, I end up running into double blocks regardless. I keep holding onto this land because of the saga that makes me discard, though eventually I will start running these out to get myself to, well, I would need 8 mana for this turn, so I think I should start running them out now. And also if I want to build up to the 10 mana for my zombie army. That still takes a while. Okay, Sarah Angel should likely be a spell that is good enough to draw the candle out. Yeah, there's the Yozo Vest to incentivize me to build up to 10 lands. Yeah, so there goes the candle. Still very bad for me if they have their like exile a historic card from the graveyard. You can cast it while it's exiled. I forgot again what it is called, but that would be pretty sick here. Okay, let's run this out. The fact that they didn't just steal my Sarah Angel makes it very likely they don't have in Bolas's clutch list in their hand, but yeah, if they have a way to reuse the candle here, I'm getting pretty wrecked. That blue-black Gravedigger guy with the candle just seems like a sick combo. I had that in my previous build and it worked out really well for me. Yeah, exactly. Rona, this type of gigs. Rona and Candle are like best friends. It is pretty clunky, but it did allow my opponent to like kill my flyer here. These Journey Mages are luckily enough not doing much for my opponent anymore, though this one sticking on the board is pretty threatening. Probably better to just run this out and keep the board under control. I just want to resolve this, and that should end the game pretty much. Like, as long as my opponent doesn't counter this, it seems pretty unbeatable. So my plan is to survive until I get to 10 lands and then cast this, and hope my opponent doesn't have a counter. Though the format seems pretty low on counters, and I haven't seen one from my opponent yet. Even if I give this double strike, it doesn't really have great attacks, right? I can just like triple block. Then I'm trading for... I guess it does have some decent attacks. Yeah. Especially when I have mana available, it's very difficult for my opponent to do like triple blocks. So basically this one I'm holding on until I have 10 mana, and this one I wanted to hold on to until I have... Well, first of all, the candle should be off of the board so I don't just get it killed right away. But in addition to that, I kind of want to make sure my opponent just doesn't mind control my Lyra, because I can't really beat the Lyra at this point, though I would have trouble beating a stolen Kazarov as well. But presumably if they had stolen this, I could have also ran out Lyra to contest it a little bit. Okay, so they are triple blocking or just jump blocking? Okay, they can just double block. There was... I mean, it's still alright with me, but it was worse than I had calculated. I don't know why I thought they had to triple block. Yeah, I probably should have just kept my guy on defense. Kind of wasteful to do that. That makes my tokens a little bit better, that I have a go wide board and removed some of their stuff, but yeah, the Knight of Malice on defense was just way better. That was a huge waste. I thought they had to like triple black and lose 3 guys, then it would have been alright with me. Okay, so the settle the score allows me to beat any of my flyers if they get stolen. So even though that's still a 2-for-1 against me, I'm now willing to run those out, because my game plan is anyways just to distract my opponent until Yosevest wins. Though this Rona's tap ability is going to be annoying to deal with as well. Maybe I should just settle that at some point. They didn't activate... What the hell? They had mana to activate it, right? Yeah, so my opponent seems to be missing the fact that this had an extra ability, which is incredibly strong. Okay. Double striking Lyra coming down. Oh yeah, but I can't really do anything about it. I need to make my land drops. I mean, I could theoretically hold the Lyra to discard it, but I don't think that's a great plan. Is that the 3rd Journey Mage? Holy moly. Yeah, I think Caligo's Skinwitch is just going to get me regardless, because I need to get to 10 mana for this, so holding lands for discarding is not a possibility, and all of the cards in my hand are also awesome, so holding those back is not a great possibility either. So just have to hope my opponent doesn't draw the Skin Witch anytime soon. Well, I waited to cast it until I could deal with it on my opponent's side of the board. But that's still pretty annoying that it does get stolen. Yeah, I think the card just hoses me regardless. Land? Damn it. They can bounce their in Bolas's Clutches, that would be pretty sick. Because they still have 1 bounce spell left, right? Yeah, the 2nd blink of an eye. Still feel like I can probably beat that with... Yeah, holy moly, their deck is so sick. But yeah, if I get to the 10th mana with this, it should still be alright. All their like bounce spell stuff doesn't really disrupt that. If I attack with everything... Let's see... They like block here. Maybe they block here and that trade for it actually. because they don't want to trade this after they get the bounce out of it. They can like block there, block here, take 6. Guess I just attack with these. They can eat one of my 2/2s, but they take a ton of damage in the process. Probably like jump blocking here and jump blocking there, taking 4. So I trade my Mesa Unicorn for their Saproling and deal 4 to them. That seems alright. Yeah, that also seems alright with me. Because they also just killed my best creature on the board, so that makes their Involus Clutches a little bit worse. Likely they just Journey Mage one of my tokens. Still just hoping to get to 10 mana before my hand gets discarded. And if they have Syncopate or something, I probably can't win. Because I already ran through most of my best cards. I think I boarded out the Legendary Sorcery, yeah. That would actually be insane here. Okay, so they tapped out land. Yes! Let's cast some fair cards. And probably tapping this down because it's the one that they most want to trade off. This card is so ridiculous. Holy shit. Yeah, really glad I didn't get Calico Skin Witched. As you said, there, like, it would have just completely wrecked my hand, but there wasn't really anything I could have done about it. And I think now there's just no way my opponent can come out of this. They like steal my Josephus, but like 8 menace tokens just unbeatable, right? Is there a minus X like board vibe? I can't think of any at the moment, not in blue-black. Like in the previous format you would always get like Golden Demised in these types of spots, but I think they don't have much of a board wipe left. I can only think of like Sagas that take a turn of delay until they wipe the board. Okay, the Desperate. Try to draw an extra card and see where that gets you, sure. Not very far. Let's see, Dominaria. Yes! And the trophy, the 5-0. So now I'm 9-1 in matches overall, out of my 2 decks. And the format does seem sweet, though. It helps that I had pretty bonkers bomb-heavy pools both times. I had this Joseph West twice, it was completely ridiculous. Echoing Decay, and not in this format. But yeah, they needed an Echoing Decay for sure. Like, this is pretty bonkers, though I couldn't really activate it, so it was just a 3/4 flyer. Like, Lyra is complete joke. It goes well with Grendel, goes well with Danitha. I think the Splashing Red was good. I really like having Skittering Surveyors in my deck, because there's pretty little mana fixing. Like, no, this is kind of the Evolving Wilds replacement, and there's huge payoff for splashing like this, so that you can have more answers to your opponent's insane bombs. Because there's so many insane bombs around, playing premium removal seems pretty important, otherwise you just lose to like all the Lyras and Belsinox and whatever's of the world. But that makes this even more insane of a bomb, because it doesn't get interacted with removal. So yeah, this was the second deck. The Primeval Glorious Rebirth was kinda mediocre, even though my deck had pretty much the best setup you can have for it, with how many? 6 legends. I had a Dark Bargain to fill my own graveyard with them, and many of these legends are like strong enough that they win the game on their own, though the Joseph West is not the greatest thing to reanimate, but like Lyra is, Kazarov is. But even here it was not that great, and I think I should have just built it differently, where I had this in the sideboard for like a super removal heavy matchup, and then probably run the second Dark Bargain. That would have been better. But yeah, it's pretty awkward that like every creature has 2 toughness, at least in black-white, like 2 toughness, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, even the ones that I have in my main deck, like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, so it's pretty impossible to just beat a 2/2 first strike. in combat. You always need to spend a removal spell on it, or accept that you're like taking 6 damage. And then like even here, like I make a bunch of 2/2s, 2/2 double strike. Basically on turn 4 I can start contesting my opponent's Knight of Malice, or what is Knight of Glory, or whatever it's called. And yeah, those just seem insane, but maybe my pools were just like weird, that I couldn't contest them better. Like other decks could just run like a Tolarian Scholar for it, or like I don't know, my green here was just awful, so I guess it's not a great example. But yeah, those just seem to dominate the board so hard. Like look at this, 1 toughness, 1 toughness, 2 toughness, insane rare. Yeah. So those were pretty sick. I think I like splashing for premium removal. I like opening bombs that are unbeatable. I can only recommend that. Dark Bargain was like overperforming constantly, especially because I wanted to get 2 mana to kick all my more expensive cards. And the second